Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to report that Donald Trump is feeling the burn. Now, this burn came after Bernie Sanders revealed the true intentions of Donald Trump and his campaign. Bernie Sanders states, Donald Trump is a guy who does not want to raise the minimum wage. In fact, he has said that he thinks wages in America are too high, but he does want to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.3%. So I think for his working class and middle class supporter, I think we can make the case that if we really want to address the issues that people are concerned about, why the middle class is disappearing, massive income and wealth inequality in this country, that we need policies that bring us together, that take on the greed of Wall Street, the greed of corporate America, and create a middle class that works for all of us, rather than an economy that works for just a few. That's not an agenda that makes America great. It's just another Republican billionaire wanting to make the very rich richer at the expense of working families. Now, Donald Trump responded with this tweet. Bernie Sanders, who blew his campaign when he gave Hillary a pass on her email crime, said that I feel wages in America are too high. Lie. Except it's not a lie.
We don't win anymore. Our taxes are too high. I've come up with a tax plan that many people like very much. It's going to be a tremendous plan. I think it'll make our country and our economy very dynamic. But taxes too high, wages too high.
Wages too high.
It's the world. I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is. People have to go out, they have to work really hard, and they have to get into that upper stratum. But we cannot do this if we are going to compete with the rest of the world. We just can't do it.
So do not raise the minimum wage.
I would not raise the minimum.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
So that video right there is proof that Donald Trump did in fact have that position. He directly, explicitly stated, clear as day, we all heard it, that wages in America are too high, and as a result, we can't compete with other countries such as China. So he was kind of inferring that maybe we should have slave wages because that's what they have abroad. I mean, in India and China and whatnot, you can barely survive. Hence the reason why, if you look at countries such as India, where a bunch of call center jobs have been shipped overseas, only 1/4 of households have toilets in India. And that's because the standard of living is so low because wages are so low. Donald Trump wants to make us like them. You heard it right there. And by saying something like that, mind you, it should have just immediately disqualified him from the race altogether. But the fact that the media didn't cover this and they kind of swept it under the rug allowed Donald Trump to just get away with it. But Bernie Sanders has exposed him as the greedy billionaire that he actually is. Now, Donald Trump kind of threw a temper tantrum on Twitter as a result of Bernie's attack, and he released a series of tweets that I'm going to read to you. So he states, the middle class has worked so hard, are not getting the kind of jobs that they have long dreamed of, and no effective raise in years. Bad. Okay, so it kind of seems like he's walking back a little bit. He also states, many of the great jobs that the people of our country want are long gone, shipped to other countries. We now are part-time. Sad. I will fix. Okay, that's actually true. Donald Trump, what's going on? Furthermore, he states, wages in our country, mind you, I mean, this is a presidential candidate. He doesn't know the difference between our and our. Sorry. I digress. But he states wages in our country are too low, good jobs are too few, and people have lost faith in our leaders. We need smart and strong leadership. Now, I'm going to read that first part to you again. Wages in our country are too low. Let me remind you, he said this recently.
Wages too high.
Now he's saying wages are too low. Do you see what's happening here? Bernie Sanders literally got Donald Trump to flip on an issue. I mean, if that's not feeling the burn, I don't know what is. Now, my favorite tweet from Donald Trump is this one. He states, strange, but I see wacko Bernie Sanders allies coming over to me because I'm lowering taxes while he will double and triple them, A disaster. Don't hold your breath on that one, because Bernie Sanders supporters are some of the most politically savvy people in the country, and I think that we know who's going to handle our taxes the best. And I'll give you a hint, it's not a billionaire who went bankrupt over 4 times. Now, furthermore, why did Donald Trump change his position? Now, aside from the fact that Bernie Sanders exposed him as a greedy billionaire that he is in actuality, well, when you look at public opinion polls, you'll see that you don't really want to be on the wrong side of an issue that's overwhelmingly popular among the American people. So, case in point, all the other Republicans are against minimum wage, and this is not smart because 71% of adults are in favor of minimum wage being increased. So that's one thing, but to actually take it a step further and say that wages are too high when 71% of people want them increased, that's not smart. That's not an electorally viable strategy, and you can't win with that. So let me give you some of these numbers specifically. So 91% of Democrats, they want minimum wage increased, 68% of independents, and 50% of Republicans. Now, when you look at individuals and you control for ideological position, liberals, 94% want to increase, 75% of independents want an increase to minimum wage, and 54% of conservatives want an increase to minimum wage. These numbers are strong, so it indicates a very strong stance of the American people. Now, this whole debacle was smart for Bernie Sanders for several reasons, and I love it. So first and foremost, the media gave Trump a pass, and Bernie Sanders had to effectively do the job of the media. Call him out, because if somebody says that the wages in America are too low, not only is that untrue, but it's actually outrageous because it's just offensive, because that's not the case at all. Now, second, it shows that Bernie Sanders is actually really strong and he can hold his own against Donald Trump in the event both him and Donald Trump become the nominees for their party. So for everyone who thinks that Bernie Sanders is going to just roll over and die if he gets a nomination and that a Republican will steamroll him, that's not true, and we all know that. Now, finally, how do you actually get media attention in today's political climate? You either A, have to be Donald Trump himself, or B, you have to attack or call out Donald Trump. And this is what Bernie Sanders did, and look what happened. He got media attention and probably garnered a lot more favorability on his behalf just because he really showed that Donald Trump is a liar. Now, I've made videos and segments on the fact that Donald Trump is a liar and that he was actually courting billionaire donors, even though he's saying that he doesn't want to take money from them. So we already know that Donald Trump is a fraud, but the media doesn't say it, so we need someone to say it, and Bernie Sanders did that, and he got Donald Trump to reverse his position, and this was phenomenal. So Donald Trump, you're gonna need to ice that burn, man, because that was not a good look for you.
You just got owned, you noob. You just got owned, motherfucker. You just got